We always talk about being it or wanting to be it, or heck, we always hope we are, right? It's always our goal in being our partner's safe space. Well, I'm going to give you the three biggest undeniable signs that you, in fact, are your partner's safe space. Or these will be telling you whether you're not your partner's safe space. Either way, we'll be on the same page. And before I dive into the signs, let's be clear. Safe space means you are the place your partner feels comfortable and at ease about opening up and sharing with you, being vulnerable, right? Not in a physical sense. Like, you should be that safe space for your partner too, right? They shouldn't feel in danger physically with you around. But whenever you feel like a place of peace for them mentally and emotionally, especially in the areas that are most intimate and vulnerable and sensitive for them, you are the place that they feel a place of comfort being for those things. That's usually always the goal for any of us, right? If you really love your partner, no one wants to be anything but that safe space for your partner. And so these three signs are going to let you know how well you're doing with that, or maybe where you need to come and bring up a conversation to your partner to actually address where they are with things if you're not seeing these signs in the way they operate towards you when it comes to things around emotion and vulnerability. The first sign is when your partner freely shares their vulnerabilities, meaning they share their insecurities, their worries, or even their fears without hesitation, meaning there's no pause, there's no, second guessing or rethinking it. They come to you almost organically. And what this is saying is that they are very comfortable being themselves, their true authentic selves. But most important, they feel comfortable being their true authentic selves around you, right? Because some people never feel comfortable being their true authentic selves, no matter what the dynamic is, because they don't fully accept themselves, right? And others are just more shy or hesitant about being themselves fully around certain people, around anyone, to where they're only their true authentic selves when they're by themselves, right? So if your partner is willing to be their true selves with you around, it says a lot about how much they feel safe and reassured with you. But if they don't freely share things with you, and you always feel like you're getting pieces of information from them about how they're feeling, or what their concerns are, you feel like there's always more to the puzzle that you're not getting from them, or whenever they tell you things, you can tell it kind of has like a guardedness to it, or they're not being fully transparent or putting all the cards on the table, and you feel like you're not really connecting with them fully or never fully get them. It's most likely because you haven't created the safe space you think you have for them. Second is when they seek your comfort and support first before anybody else, especially through the toughest times, right? Whether it's just having a bad day or making a difficult decision, whenever they come to you as their first reflex or response, or their first reaction is to dial you up on the phone or come to you quickly, it's because they truly trust your perspective and your understanding and your reassurance that you provide, that makes them feel safe and reassured to come to you in the moments where they need support the most, right? If their reflex during a fearful moment or a concerning moment is you, that's a great sign that you're doing a great job of being their safe space. But if they turn to that close best friend before you, or the family members before you often, and it's almost always them before they turn to you, it's a good sign that even if you're doing a decent job at creating somewhat of a safe space, they don't feel safe enough with you in order to turn to you first as their partner. Because here's the thing. There's levels to this, right? If you're just meeting them and, you guys have been building a relationship for a little while and it's kind of still developing, maybe they have a close knit bond with a brother or a sister or family members or whomever, or even a friend, to where it's going to take time for you to work yourself into that same level of dependency that they have with these other people for support, right? And so it's not even a matter of you trying to replace them, but the closer you become, especially if you move into the same living space and things like that, they should naturally and organically start transferring some of that go-to reflex to you more often than they do those other sources they had before you came along into their life, right? And even if those resources, those of the support system stay in their life and there's still someone that they turn to, you'll probably notice more that it's more equally balanced to where they'll turn to you and them, or to be almost simultaneous, or maybe they go through a process of calling that friend or that family member and then turn right around and talking to you about it too, because they like to get both perspectives because they value both of you guys as being really good safe spaces. That's also a thing. But if you're never the one they think of first, or you're never the one they fully come to really, get what they need, this is a sign you're not necessarily the safe space you may think that you are for them, right? Especially if you notice whenever they do go to someone else to get reassurance or get support in the tough times, that they seem to open up more to them than they do to you. They come to you too, but it's like they give you somewhat of the problem because they value somewhat of what you're going to offer and the space that you hold for them. But it doesn't seem as like hair all the way down, defenses all the way down, and I'm really laying it all on you because I trust you that much to be my safe haven. And the third, and I think the biggest telling sign that you are your safe space for your partner, is when they do not fear criticism or judgment from you, meaning they are not scared or hesitant about telling you their opinions, expressing their emotions, or even biggest, admitting when they're wrong or when they've made a mistake, because they know when they come to you, you're not going to make them feel bad about it. You're not going to make them feel like they're a horrible person or something, or they're going to regret ever admitting it because it meant them experiencing more pain. That is a great sign that you are an amazing safe space for them, right? Because it symbolizes a deep level of trust from them for you or to you, right? Or in you, that they can bring anything to you and you're not going to look at them any differently. You're not going to think less of them, to where it can be a constructive conversation that they're looking forward to having, versus one to where they would like to share because they kind of want help navigating it, but don't want to feel like them doing it is going to ruin some of the perspective you have of them in your eyes, right? To where they have to start, entertaining this negative narrative about themselves, this idea that maybe I am a bad person, or I got to feel horrible, feel like a piece of crap whenever I go to my partner to talk about this because they're going to poke holes in me left and right. And more so, you start triggering that need for them to have to lean into their ego more, right? See, if your partner is more hesitant and they don't usually take accountability almost ever with things, especially if you've seen them do it in other places with other people, but they don't do it with you, right? And if anything, their ego wants to keep being combative with you, or stand their ground more often than not, it's probably because they don't feel safe enough to be vulnerable and say, hey, yeah, I dropped the ball, because if they do, they feel like they're giving you some sort of leverage. Now, that could be something that's just on their end, but usually it takes two to tango, right? We don't just have these experiences and one person's doing this stuff just because, right? So it's more likely fair to say that if your partner does feel this need to keep pushing back against you and keep, fighting against whatever you're saying, it's because the experience they're having is whenever they do try to take ownership or accountability, they pay a price for it, right? Or you start doubling, tripling down on, using that as like a weapon against them, use it like ammo, to where when other things happen in the future, you pull their card on that moment when they said they were wrong in that thing. Like, see, you do be wrong about stuff like that because remember that day you told me that you took accountability for that? See, you do these things, and then they regret ever taking that accountability. So it is a major sign that you're doing an amazing job at being your partner's safe space if they feel a comfort enough space and trusting you enough to actually admit their flaws and their faults. Now, let me say this. Just because you can create a safe space for that, your partner has to be at a place of growth to where their ego doesn't rule them to even still maybe take that accountability. Sometimes it's not on you, but I'm going to assume if you're healthy enough, you're not still going to be in a relationship with, or you haven't built one with, someone that cannot take accountability at all, right? So even in that kind of dynamic, there's something you probably need to adjust. But at the end of the day, more often than not, even for people that struggle to take some level of accountability, it becomes harder and harder for them to not do that or warm up to it if the other person always holds a safe space for them to do so, right? So it still comes back to there's probably something in your experience if your partner goes harshly against trying to do that to where you're not providing that sense of safeness and security. If you've noticed or you notice continually that all three of these signs you're not seeing, right? Your partner isn't willing to be vulnerable and open up about different things. They don't turn to you first for support and help the most, or they don't feel comfortable admitting things to you or expressing things without fear of, judgment or ridicule or criticism, right? If you're not seeing that and you're seeing the opposite, and they're more apprehensive, more guarded, and they are, always going to an external source outside of your home than to you for that support, or they never will admit things and all that, then this is the biggest sign, right? All three of them collectively is the biggest sign. You need to have a conversation. You need to sit down with your partner and have a deep dive. And this is going to be difficult and challenging because it's going to require you to check your ego and the things you may not want to hear when you ask that golden question of, hey, do you not feel safe with me to hold an emotional space for you, or to let you express yourself, or to let you talk about things, or, to be the person you turn to when you need it most, or whenever you're trying to work through something that you feel maybe you could have done better in, do you feel like you can't bring it to me because I'm going to make you feel bad and beat you down about it, right? That kind of conversation and questions have to be asked, to leave the floor open there and genuinely sit and allow them to express themselves. This would be your great first step in creating that safe space, is your ability to check that ego and not be offended by their truth, because they're probably not even going to give you their full truth the way you want it in that first conversation. But how you respond to this initial attempt at them giving you something of substance, that you're probably asking them questions that you never asked them before, it's going to surprise them, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're going to ask me this. This is great. I didn't think you were aware or saw it, but I'm happy that you do care to know. But it's still going to probably be a little hesitant for them to fully open up and tell you all these things just blindly, because they don't want it to end bad, right? Because their experience prior, whether however accurate or not you feel it is, their perspective is their perspective. And so how you respond in this moment is going to be crucial towards them learning, oh, maybe something's changed. I don't know what's happened, but I actually can confide and open up to my partner more, and I won't be beat down for it. They will hear me. Okay, I'll take a small step. And the more you consistently do this and hold a space for them and embrace what they say. And look, doesn't mean whatever they tell you, they say, well, yeah, I don't feel like you do hold a safe space, and I don't feel like you care, and all these other things. Doesn't mean it's 100% accurate. They could be seeing it from an angle that's not fair to what you actually do, right? That's something as well. But it's how you respond in that. It's how you ask better questions. Or if you do hear something that seems conflicting to what you feel you do offer to them, they say, well, wait, so whenever I do X, Y, Z, that's not offering that space for you. That's not doing that for you. Ask questions to understand with more clarity if you genuinely disagree with what they're saying. But still, it's how calm, how embracing, and how productive you're still trying to be in a conversation versus how offended you can become and how defensive you become. The more you get defensive and you start trying to fight back to defend your character instead of hearing them, they're going to just feel like this is reaffirming why they don't feel safe with you. If you've come to learn and recognize that you are actually not the safe space you really want to be for your partner, you want to learn to build the tools and the skills to actually be that, so you can help be a contribution to your relationship instead of a hindrance, then email or DM me the word coaching and we'll get to work, as long as you're truly ready to put the work in. If you're not ready for one-on-one coaching, don't have the time or the space, email or DM me the word revival to join my Relationship Revival Hub community, where you can learn the same things I teach my clients one-on-one at your own pace, on your own time. Either way, do something to get in the race. Let's get it.